What's up, everybody? Welcome to today's video. My name is Drew here at Drew Dabbles, and in today's video, we are going to be building these double doors that you see right behind me here. I'm going to take you from the ideation and creation of these doors all the way to hanging them on the wall right behind me. Stick around, hang out, have some fun, and if you like the video at the end, please be sure to like and subscribe. All right, so the plywood sheet is all cut to size. We have everything length, width, cut where we need it. So now the next step, what we're going to do here is we're going to cut the front facing. So we're going to cut the front border, middle piece, and then we'll work on the diagonal part, and then we'll be done. All right, so here we're cutting the vertical rails to length, and then we're going to get ready to rip these down to 4-inch strips. All right, so we got the 4-inch risers cut for the sides and top. A little bit sketchier on the table saw. In an upcoming build, you'll see I'm going to be building the table saw that I just used into a bench down here. I'm going to be reconfiguring the entire basement area so I can make those longer cuts on that table saw without having to kind of go from the front to the back. So stay tuned for that. That'll be coming in an upcoming video. But yeah, now it's time to bring that the backer board back in here and start marking up where we want to put these boys. All right, once you have those boards cut, make sure you sand the edges and the corners with a fine grit 220 grit sandpaper. You might want to use a better piece of sandpaper than I did, otherwise you get splinters. After sanding, take your cut boards, apply some glue to the back, and apply the top board flush with the corner of your backer board, and then apply with an 1.25" 18 gauge brad nails. After securing those frame pieces to the door, measure out the top, middle, and bottom pieces of the frame and get ready to secure them to the board. All right, after cutting, take the pieces and center the first in the middle of the door and apply with wood glue and 1.25" 18 gauge brad nails and repeat the process on the top and bottom. All right, so up to this point, we've been cutting all of the 3/4 inch plywood up for the backing of the door and then the frame of the door. Right now, what we're going to do is we're going to move into those cross slats that are going to be at a 45-degree angle within the overall frame of the door we've made up to this point. This is made out of 1/2 inch plywood. So you're going to have a little bit of a raised profile from the middle out to the edge of each of these doors that we're building. So to do this, I'm going to take my track saw that we saw earlier, and I'm going to rip these at 6 inches. And I'm hopeful that I did my math right and we'll have just the right amount of wood to do this. So hopefully I don't screw up. Spoiler alert, I screwed up. When measuring out the lines for your track saw to follow, you want to make sure that if you're cutting from the angle I am here, you account for the width of the blade. I forgot to do that on the first cut, but fortunately realized it and was able to salvage the rest of the board and complete the door. All right, so this is going to be the challenging part of this build, at least for me, and it's making sure that we can cut all of these miters exactly at 45 and still maintain our spacings and make sure that we follow the pattern like we have in our plan. So we have the dimensions from our 3D model. If you're interested in the plans for this build, we'll have a link to those down below. We're going to just try and follow this first cut here to see how close our measurements are. So far, everything else has been measuring out pretty close to the model view. So there's no reason right now to think that we won't hold. So we're going to try it, see what happens, and we'll go from there. All right, following the plan was super helpful in this case. It allowed me to accurately and quickly measure out the distance that I needed to cut for each of these slats, saving a lot of unnecessary mathematical calculations on my end. All right, so quick pro tip. If you want to have an 1/8 inch spacer, exactly an 1/8 of an inch spacer like we do here between each of these 45 slats, a normal paint stick is exactly 1/8 of an inch. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this paint stick, I'm going to cut it into a bunch of small strips and use those as spacers for my boards to keep them all exactly 1/8 of an inch apart. All right, from there, we just kept following the plans, cutting our pieces out, and trying not to make too many mistakes along the way. There were a couple of areas where I forgot how to use a tape measure and made the wrong cut and had to reuse some material. Fortunately, we had enough left over of our 1/2-inch plywood that this really wasn't a big deal.
All right, so we did it, kind of. A couple bumps along the way, but we were able to either measure or scribe the necessary cuts that we needed. You can see it's looking pretty good. So we only have to do that 3 more times and then we'll have 2 doors. All right, stay tuned. All right, so we have now completed all of the slats. You can see here, we have the door cut and everything is in its final place. So what we need to do now is nail and glue these slats down and then get ready for the final prep. So finishing of the nail holes, filling those with wood filler, and then we'll flush route around the entire door. So let's do it.
All right, if you still have 1.25" brad nails in your nail gun, go ahead and swap those out for 1-inch brad nails. Otherwise, you'll shoot through the back of your door. Ask me how I know. Okay, using a small palm router with a flush mount bit on it, go ahead and clean up the edges of each of the doors that you've built. This is important to help give a very flat edge for the next step here in applying the edge banding to each of these doors to give a solid uniform look. Okay, last step for today is to add this birch veneer all the way around the edge of the door. So because this is made of plywood, we really want to make sure this looks as clean, as uniform as possible. And it's very hard to do with those laminated layers showing around the exterior edges. Because we're painting this door, those edges take paint a little bit different than the uniformity that you would see on the front and back for the veneered layers of the plywood. So this will help smooth things out. We'll sand it down when we're done. You won't even know that this was made of plywood. It'll look like a solid wood door. Yeah, so stay tuned and we'll go from there. All right, this was one of the more important steps in my opinion. I really wanted to spend time on it to make sure that the edges looked absolutely clean on this door. So I spent a lot of time ironing the edge veneer on, getting the glue worked in with a scrap piece of 3/4-inch plywood, cutting off the excess amount that hung over with a sharp utility knife, and then working my way back over the same with some more heat, following it up with some more pressure to the corner pieces to make sure that it looked nice and uniform all the way around the door. Bam! 2 doors, both done. Painted, finished, ready to go, ready to be hung. We built the second door, mirroring the first door, so you have the matching pattern right here. We painted them with a Dutch Boy cabinet door and trim premium paint. It is in a cheating heart color that we actually stole from Sherwin-Williams and made into Dutch Boy. Big fan of this paint. Works really well in applying to this. And we ended up spraying it on with our Wagner sprayer. The finish still looks great. It's going to look absolutely beautiful hung up in our room. So let's head upstairs, install the track, and put these doors up. All right, we are up in the bedroom, getting ready to put these barn doors up. So the double doors are going to act as a kind of 2-for-1 door system. They're going to cover this closet space when closed, and the closet space is actually going to be made into a built-in dresser in an upcoming video, but it will also allow us to open them from either the outside or the inside and cover the walk-in closet that's to the left or cover the bathroom that's to the right. So the first thing we need to do here is hang the ledger board for the rail track, and then we'll start putting the doors up. So let's get it. All right, so we have the board installed. I don't actually know what this board is called, header board, ledger board, paint in the board, but it's up there. I needed help from my lovely assistant hanging that, who declined to be on video. So I had to do that step off camera, but it is up. It's sunk into the studs that are not evenly spaced above the 3 door frames that we have behind me here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start putting the track and rail together, start putting the standoffs up, and start drilling the hangers into the doors. All right. Make sure you measure twice and drill once, and that you use a sacrificial block on the back of the door to avoid any tear out, and always consult a significant other to make sure that you are putting things where they belong. Believe it or not, this method you see here is actually how the instructions recommended this rail get installed. Consult your own rail instructions and make sure you follow along appropriately. Otherwise, sink these in tightly using the lag bolts that are provided and get ready to hang the door. All right, we are done. We got the doors hung. They look absolutely beautiful. They work great. This has been a really fun project. This has actually been my very first YouTube video, hopefully many more to come. So if you guys enjoyed this video, if you'd like to keep seeing more of these, please give me a like and a subscribe below, and we'll see you next time.